Welcome to the People Connect podcast. Your network is your net worth. Are you ready to take your life to the next level? Be prepared to leap out of your comfort zone and connect with the who's who of what you want to do. Stop, drop, and roll as we start, market, and grow the CEO of you and your host, Nichelle Womack. She will help you engage, reinvent, motivate, and reactivate your plans for success.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day today to be a part of the People Connect podcast, the show where we connect people with ideas, strategies, starting marketing, and building and growing you into a better you. Today, I am so excited to bring to you a wonderful person that I met on Instagram, and she's going to be talking to us today about branding. Branding is so important because you are your brand. And Miss Phoenique Farmer, she's going to share with us some strategies, who she is, and how you personally can take your brand, your business to the next level. So welcome, Miss Phoenique Farmer. How are you today?
Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm doing great. How are you today?
I am absolutely fabulous. Thank you so much. So, Ms. Phoenique, can you tell us a little bit about you and what you do?
Okay, great, sure. My name's Phoenique Farmer. I'm a branding expert, and a little bit about my story. I've worked online for 10 years. I've helped many people get through their issues as far as branding, just trying to find their own voice. Now, part of my experiences, I've worked online. I've done a lot of technical things behind the scenes as far as, building my own website, building my own brand. And through that process, I've been able to turn around and help a lot of other women get through those tough spots where a lot of people actually stop and give up. So my expertise is branding as well as personal development, and I'm here to help any of your followers if they need help with branding. And hopefully the information today that I provide will, fall on their hearts and be able to help them to build their brand. And also, there's a PDF that I put together just for your followers so that they're able to get started today and start building their brand from the information that we provide as well as the PDF, and they can move forward with branding themselves. And it's exciting to be a part of that.
Awesome. Ms. Phoenique, for those who may not particularly understand what branding is or what the facets of it should be, can you explain to us what branding is from your description as a brand strategist?
Absolutely. Well, I want to start off by letting people know branding is it's a process, and it's a process where you're at the very beginning, you're going to start to write down words that mean something to you. Whatever it is that's in your business, whatever it is that's in your character that you want to instill into your new up-and-coming business, those are the things that are most important, that you start with you, that you start with who you are, what you stand for, and what you want your business to relay to the person that's just going to see that pop up on their screen. It does involve color, it does involve, the actual image, and it does involve how people feel when they come across your brand. Now, I do want to explain a little bit more about the difference between branding and a logo, because a lot of people use those interchangeably and not really understanding the importance of one and the importance of the other. Now, a logo is more of a trademark, an emblem, or a mascot of your organization. It's something that gives people, it triggers them how they feel about your product. Now, a brand is more of an emotional, psychological relationship between the company and their customers or the consumers. And it's more of a feel of what they think and feel about your product, something they get in their gut. I know that, we discussed this before, and we kind of talked about FedEx, UPS. Those brands have chosen those colors for a specific reason. Every color in the rainbow has a specific thing to do as far as branding, and that's why these companies are so well known. Most of them are Fortune 500 companies, but they're products that you use every single day. You use them and you trust them because they put a lot of time and effort and thought into their brand. And when it comes to the brand concept, the brand concept is your logo, your branding, and everything culminating into one total package experience. Now, the brand identity will cover your brand, your logo, as well as your business cards, your email signature, your website, even down to your employees' clothes. That, and that in itself is going to, in a whole roundabout package is going to represent you and your brand.
Awesome. So really what you've explained to me is that consistency is key. And I stated that in our meeting before. When I was first introduced to you on Instagram, one thing that struck me by you is the consistency of your message. And I also shared that when you are seeking brands out, if there is a consistency, if you see any flaws or anything in it, then that kind of means that they've been redirected as of sort. So one thing that drew me to Miss Phoenique was her consistency in her message, what she was portraying. I mean, I'm one of those kind of people, when I reach out to someone for connection, I want to make certain that, first of all, we're on the same page when we're talking about ideas and strategies, and then I want to look for consistency. And when you're talking about branding, and she's beginning to brand herself and her business, you saw that in her message. Everything that she was sharing was teaching, or is teaching, business owners how to distinguish themselves in the market. So, Ms. Phoenique, with that being said, I'm kind of curious, if someone is new to business, if they're just getting their feet wet, if they're just thinking about what do I need to do to take my business from here to there as it relates to branding, what are some ideas that you can suggest to them to help them out?
Well, for one, I would suggest when you're sitting down and you're trying to brand yourself and you're trying to figure out where do you want to be as far as in the view of your public, like how do you want them to feel about your product? And this is where you're going to start off. Now, when you're creating your brand, the one thing that I really encourage people to think about is when you're creating your brand today, you're going to have to keep the vision of who and where your brand, where you are going and your brand is going in the future. So if your brand represents you now, is it going to still represent you in the next 10, 20, or 50 years? Because we're looking for longevity. We're looking for a long-term business relationship with your customers. So this is something that you want to think about now. And when I ask that question, is if you pick a brand that's going to limit you, this is where you want to make sure that you're making those choices now. Now, for example, I use an example, Tina's Cookie Shop. Now, Tina's Cookie Shop is a great name, and it may establish her as a great business for cookies. But say if Tina wants to branch out in the future, she becomes a full-on bakery, helps with weddings, does pies, cakes, holiday events. When she creates her name, Tina's Cookie Shop, that may be what she does now. That may be what she specializes in, but it doesn't allow her for growth. So when you're building your brand, make sure it represents you now in 10, 20, 50 years, or even when you pass your business on throughout your legacy, that it still stands for the overall experience of your business. So the lesson here is to not limit yourself, to be able to encompass everything that you want your business to grow into from now all the way into the future.
Ms. Phoenique, I think you brought up a great strategy there. You're talking about beginning from now into the future, because I know it really is important to first impressions or lasting impressions. That's what I share with all my clients when I'm first teaching them about business and how they should strategically place themselves in the market with their competitors, just in the market themselves, to identify themselves. So you spoke of doing it now and something that will represent you in the future. What if you are in this position, which a lot of people have found themselves, with social media, people are out there and they're sometimes just talking at rampage, and, sometimes their brands get a little distorted. As we both agreed, you are your brand. How would someone take the message that you're sharing right now if they need to recreate their brand and go out there and do something different, deliver? How can they improve their branding strategy?
Sure. Well, I would suggest first to really narrow down what it is that what you stand for. Write down those things that are most important to you that you are just not going to change. This is your foundation of your business. You're going to stand on integrity. You want to empower people, or you want to have, this number one A service, in your industry. Sit down and figure out what those points are. And then when you build on those with colors and the feel and the textures and the logo itself and your entire website, everything that encompasses who you are and your brand, you want to be able to bring all of those into it. Another thing, if you're just getting started, these are the most important things that you really want to think about. And these are the main things that you want to build on. Is start with you, with what's important to you, and then you can build on those points and be able to extend that into the future, but just never limit yourself into a small box of, what your business is now. You want to be able to leave space in the future for growth and, your future potential.
Awesome. So really there's never, as the time that you start from your branding perspective, there's opportunity for growth and development. And I've even seen, I know working in business, I've worked with clients who initially started one business, but then something per se happened and they had to reorganize, rebrand, and then they went to another perspective from there. I mean, that's done a lot of times in business with small business owners as well as large corporate America enterprises as well. And so basically what you're stating is that you still have to go back to your core message. Is that correct?
Absolutely. No matter whether you have a brand right now or you do have a brand out there and you're thinking about restructuring it or just completely changing it, the thing that you really want to focus on is, does it represent you? And if you're not really sure, if you look at your brand and you think that it represents the company that you may work for, say if you're an affiliate or you sell someone else's product, you still want to brand yourself. So whether company A, company B, or company C goes down, you still have established yourself and your own foundation for yourself on the internet, and people get to know who you are. And it's not so much about the brand. You want people to know that this person is trustworthy, this person, empowers people, this person gives their all to their team. So it doesn't matter what company you work with, and that's a great thing that a lot of new entrepreneurs, they jump in and rather support a company because they're brand new, but not realizing that even though you're brand new, you really may not have a lot to speak of as far as your experience or, not sure where to brand yourself. Whether you're actually have a brand or not, you're still letting people know, I don't have a brand, and you're not really sure of yourself or your business. So you really want to get yourself out there and let people know that this is what I stand for with your branding and with your logo. And as you move forward, people will start to support you in that because they're able to see who you are, and that's what attracts people to you. Just like, we're attracted to most of the different products that are in our home right now. Different, you can open your refrigerator or open your medicine cabinet. There are certain brands that we just trust, and we just will not buy any other brand. And that doesn't happen overnight, and it takes a lot of thought, and it also takes a lot of who that company, they have to constantly go back to the drawing board and make sure that does this represent us? And if it doesn't, that's when you go back to the drawing board and take those elements out. But when you have the core of your business it represents you, then you really can't go wrong. And if you wind up, just like you said, many people change their branding, or they may change the business that they're in. If you brand yourself, you could never go wrong.
Exactly. I would totally agree. And that's at any stage of business that you're in. I think, like I said, when I work with a lot of new business owners, they're not really concentrating on branding at first. And then once you make them aware, because you have to be able to distinguish yourself from the competition. I mean, there's nothing that none of us do in the market of business that somebody else is not doing. But I think what branding does is it kind of distinguishes us from the competition and kind of gives us a leg up where we can separate ourselves and we don't look just like a Me Too product or service.
Exactly.
Yes. And you also we talked about this earlier, color, definition, and design as far as the logo, consistency with that. One thing that I know, me personally, with branding, I always find it necessary to put my name on stuff. And the reason why I find that is because what I've seen is that we live in a shareable world, and it's okay to share, but, people take credit for things that are not theirs. And so how would you reference that? Someone who has a message that they want to share or a particular design or something, is it important that you include the person that's doing it as part of your brand on there? Like, some of the big ones, Starbucks, you're not going to not see their name on their coffee, or McDonald's, their name is always there. What's the essence of importance as far as that is concerned, especially for someone that's new and just starting out?
Well, I think that was a great point. You really hit the nail on the head. You want to use your branding to set yourself apart from the competition, so it helps you to stand out, so that people say, I know that's that person's product. There's nobody else that can stand out because they found their foundation. They found what it is that makes them different, their unique selling proposition. And that's something you really want to focus on and know what your brand stands for. And, like I mentioned before, if you don't have a brand yet and you really haven't identified what makes you different, then why would somebody buy from you rather than somebody else who's taken the time to brand themselves, and to that person can say, wow, they stand for integrity, they stand for this, they stand for that. That person knows what I need. I'm going to go over here. So when you do brand yourself and you do stand out and you are consistent with your message and you're consistent with your colors, you're consistent with your brand, you're consistent with your message. And just like you brought up, I personally do that myself, because putting my logo and my branding on each one of my images. It is a shareable world, and some people do wind up using your images, but then that also is where you come in, that other person, the post that was shareable, as you call it, that person didn't brand themselves. So, 500 people may pass that image on and never know that you created it, never know that it was your business, your integrity, your character that built that image, and that's what you stand for. So when you put your image and your logo on your posts or, on your media, people know that that's her or that's him. That is what that person stands for. So being consistent with that and basically when it comes to marketing, in order to, kind of kill the noise, when you stand out and when you have your own branding, that's when you start to elevate yourself to one of those brands that, like I said, are in your refrigerator or in your medicine cabinet. If you want people to see you as that brand that is every single day, like Coca-Cola, they don't put a red bottle out there without their name on it. And we have to look at our brand the same way, that this is who we are, and we have to put our signature on that so people consistently, see our products and our services out there and know that that's your logo. And that's how you get yourself out there in such a noisy world where social media, people are sharing everything. There's so many people saying a lot. But when you're unique, you take the time to know what your foundation is, you know what you stand for, people will be drawn to that because you have a foundation, and you're not going to just flip because it's a new product or a new service or, something new changed. You're going to be that consistent person, and people are looking for that consistency, and that is the only reason why we buy the products that we use and are committed to the companies that we stick with, because it's the consistency, and we know that product is going to be the same quality and it's going to be that same integrity from that same business. And that's something that we as, online entrepreneurs need to take a little bit more of a notice.
Awesome. I totally agree with that, because you brought up several factors of trust. People buy from things that they trust, that they've had experience with, that they've used over and over again. But even being that newbie business owner out there, the more you distinguish yourself and characterize yourself as someone of integrity and of values and a purpose and a mission for that specific client or market that you're trying to get into, I think that's so key. And, to address the message of making sure your name is on there because it's shareable, that's how you get recognition, because when people see your logo, your name, they're drawn to come in to learn more about you. They may Google you. They may, find out who you are based upon someone else sharing your information if that image and that message is present.
I did want to add on something to that, Michelle, that most people have to keep in mind when you're an entrepreneur and you want someone to purchase from you, most people don't purchase until the 7th to the 12th time that they see your advertising. So you can imagine how much noise out there is in the world, and then they have to see your product or service 7 to 12 times before they even make the purchasing decision to pull out their credit card and take part in whatever service you're offering. So that only goes to show and instill that the consistency of getting your message out there and the consistency of showing your logo and your branding, but most of all, that solid foundation that you build on what your business is about. And it's building it off of who you are. And if you're a person of integrity and you want to empower people and encourage people, or you have this great service, then you have to infuse that into your foundation. And anything you build on a solid foundation is going to be strong, and it's going to be able to weather the storms that every business goes through.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Farmer. You've provided us with some wonderful information that anybody at any stage in their business can take and run away with today. So being that you are a brand strategist, would you tell the audience how they can get in contact with you? And you also stated that you had a freebie as well.
Yes, I do. Well, if you want to get in contact with me, you can reach me at queenbu.com. That's the word queen, the word B with 2 E's, and the letter U.com. and I offer free consultations if you're looking for or have specific questions to branding. I'd love to help entrepreneurs move to the next stage, so feel free to inbox me. But just because Nichelle is so wonderful and she was such a gracious host, I put together a PDF, and we're going to be able to give you the link to that. It's basically, it's called the branding game, and you're basically going to be able to get just some great tips. I'm going to give you the color guide so you know exactly what products that you already love and why those companies have picked those colors so that it can help you to build your business, and also some great tips and some do's and don'ts on going into business and, creating your branding and your logo so that you don't make those mistakes in the beginning that many of us have and have to turn around and start branding all over again. So I'm going to give Nichelle the link, and we'll provide the link for you so that you're able to get your freebie. And I really hope that it helps to get someone's brand out there, and it helps to rocket them to the next level.
Yeah, you could go ahead and give it to them now if you have it.
Okay, great. Well, you can go to QueenBU. Again, that's the word Queen, the word B with 2 E's, and the letter U.com, and you're going to see a button that says free guide. I actually have 2 guides there. There's another one that's going to help you once you find it's going to help you find your target marker, and then it's a bonus in that same PDF that's going to give you 15 great places to find people that are going to be interested in your business. And the free PDF that I mentioned that's for today it's called the branding game, and that's going to help you with your branding to help you pick out your colors and find out what build your business and find out what your business stands for, and to move you to the next step as far as your branding. So you get actually 2 gifts for one today.
Awesome. Well, that is so fabulous. I thank you so much for providing that for our guests, and I'm sure they will as well. So if you are interested in pursuing the opportunity of getting your brand out there, if you're stuck, if you just don't know which direction to take, I would certainly recommend that you reach out to Ms. Phoenique Farmer. She can help you get on track and get started to where you're trying to go in your business. Ms. Phoenique, thank you so much for being a part of the People Connect podcast. We greatly appreciate your presence and the information that you've shared with us.
Well, thank you. It's been an honor to be invited, and I'm happy to help any way I can. And I just, say to all of your listeners that I wish you the best in your branding. I hope that I can be an assistance to you in some way to move your brand to the next stage.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. You have been listening to the People Connect podcast. We greatly appreciate each and every one of our listeners. If you find the information valuable, I'm going to ask that you go over to iTunes and give us a rating over there, because that's the only way that we know if we're providing information that's valuable. We've had over 4,000 downloads, and that's been great, but to let us know that we're giving you good information, that we can continue to provide this information, what you need and what you expect, that would be awesome. This message today is brought to you by GoTurvy. If you are interested in saving some money on your TV and your satellite bills, you can go to bit.ly/GoTurvy, and that's GoTurvi, and you can learn more about how you can put more money in your pocket by saving on those 2 essential bills, or those 1 essential bills that you're currently paying right now. So until next time, this is Nichelle Womack signing off as your host, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. May everything you touch turn to gold. Be blessed and highly favored in everything that you do. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.